Under the cover of night, a battered streak of blue light crashes into the alley. Our injured powerhouse isn't here for sightseeing. To evade his pursuers, he's forced to drag his wounded body into the shadows. Masked by the sudden explosion of energy, the man vanishes. In his place sits a seemingly harmless fat cat, blending perfectly into the quiet night, completely undetectable. Meanwhile, our boy Jaiwoo is facing a financial crisis at the pet shop. Despite being broke himself, he spends his last dime on treats for stray cats' classic cat servant behavior. On his way home, a car speeds uncontrollably toward a child chasing a ball. Without thinking, Jaiwoo activates his powers, moving as a blur to snatch the kid from the jaws of death. The move was so fast no one saw it, leaving Jaiwoo catching his breath. He checks on the kid, relieved everyone is safe, but terrified he might have just exposed his secret abilities. As the child's mother rushes over, Jaiwoo decides to leave before questions are asked. To him, these powers are a secret he must keep, even after playing the hero. At his usual feeding spot, the cats are acting strange. Instead of eating, they urgently guide Jaiwoo deeper into the alley, as if trying to show him something important. Following their lead, he finds a bloody, unconscious fat cat in the corner. Jaiwoo's soft heart takes over, and he immediately brings the injured furball home to patch him up. Caden finally regains consciousness, but when he tries to move, he's horrified to see fluffy paws instead of hands. The world's strongest Awakener has literally turned into a cat. Just as Caden questions his reality, the door opens. Jaiwoo walks in, relieved to see the cat awake, completely oblivious to the deadly intelligence behind those feline eyes. Our boy walks in with dinner, completely unaware that the kitty on the mat is analyzing every move. Jaiwoo offers some milk, trying to be a good host to his new guest. To help the stray recover, our boy cracks open a can of premium tuna. Caden feels insulted being treated like a pet, but he swallows his pride and the fish knowing he needs the energy to heal. Then, our boy makes a fatal mistake. He lifts the cat up to check its gender. That's the final straw for Caden. His dignity shattered, he speaks up, shocking Jaiwoo so much he questions his own sanity. Realizing he's not hallucinating, our boy freaks out, but the cat isn't playing around. Despite the fluffy exterior, Caden unleashes a terrifying aura, backing the terrified high schooler into a corner. Intimidated by the feline's overwhelming presence, Jaiwoo stammers out his name. Caden immediately takes charge, ordering our boy to sit while he struggles to climb onto a chair to look down on his new servant. Even in his weakened state, Caden doesn't mince words. He issues a strict warning. If Jaiwoo breathes a word about this to anyone, there will be deadly consequences. The look in those cat eyes says he means business. After laying down the law, Caden finally takes a good look at himself. The realization hits him like a truck. The legendary Awakener is now a chubby, wobbly cat. His internal scream echoes with pure despair. The emotional shock and his injuries prove too much, and Caden suddenly collapses. Thinking he just killed his guest, our boy panics and starts violently shaking the cat, desperate to wake him up. Caden wakes up, annoyed at being shaken like a ragdoll, and explains he just needs rest. Staring at his ridiculous reflection in the mirror, he hates his new form, but realizes he's stuck like this for now. Since the secret is out, Caden stops pretending and admits he's actually a human Awakener. Even though Jaiwoo suspected it, hearing a fat cat speak casually still completely shatters his worldview. Facing Jaiwoo's barrage of questions, Caden clearly doesn't want to discuss his humiliating past. He shuts down the conversation with a cold, "You don't need to know," keeping his mysterious aura intact. An awkward silence is broken by a loud stomach rumble. Staring at the bowl, Caden's human pride wants to refuse, but he convinces himself that since he's in a cat's body, eating cat food is perfectly logical. His mouth says no, but his body says yes. The flavor is shockingly good. By the time Caden snaps out of it, he's stuffed and mortified, desperately blaming his gluttony on the cat's biological instincts. After the meal, the pain from his injuries returns. Jaiwoo is about to leave, but sharply notices Caden trying to hide his suffering, and his expression instantly shifts from casual to concerned. Worried about leaving him alone, Jaiwoo decides to take drastic measures. Ignoring Caden's protests, he scoops him up, claiming he needs to monitor him, though it's clearly just an excuse to get him medical help. Caden struggles violently, hissing and demanding to be put down. But as he settles into Jaiwoo's warm embrace, he feels annoyingly comfortable, forcing him to mentally scream that it's just fatigue, not affection. Only upon arrival does Caden realize he's been tricked. Jaiwoo brought him to a vet. As the doctor judges this unique breed, the legendary Awakener realizes he's about to face his greatest crisis yet. The nightmare begins. One of the world's strongest Awakeners is handled like a ragdoll, having his mouth pried open for a dental check. It's not just a checkup, it's a public execution of his dignity. Back in the day, Caden was an absolute force of nature. No matter who challenged him, they all ended up kneeling before his overwhelming power. Organizations everywhere tried to recruit him, promising him the world and ultimate power. But being the lone wolf he simply turned his back on them all. His name alone was enough to strike fear into the hearts of the strongest Awakeners, a living legend of absolute dominance. Or at least, he used to be. The once great legend is now fighting a losing battle against his feline instincts and a feather toy. When he finally snaps out of it, the shame hits him like a truck. He can't believe he let his cat instincts take over again. Just as they're dealing with the embarrassment, the mood shifts instantly. A massive, bloodthirsty mutant cat blocks their path, looking ready to kill. Before Jawa can even process what he's seeing, the monster lunges. Terrified by the sheer killing intent, our boy scrambles backward to escape. Even though he's terrified, Jawa's first instinct is to grab Caden and bolt. The poor legendary Awakener gets scooped up like luggage before he knows what's happening. Thanks to a burst of super speed, Jawa manages to create some distance. The mutant cat slams into the wall, confused as its prey vanishes into thin air. Only after putting some serious distance between them does Jawa stop to breathe. He's safe for now, but he can't shake the memory of that monster's rage-filled eyes. Despite shaking with fear, our boy realizes he can't just walk away. The terror in his eyes softens into a gentle, stubborn resolve. Caden can hardly believe his ears. He knows exactly how dangerous the enemy is, but the look on the kid's face says he's absolutely serious. He even sets Caden aside to keep him safe. That pure, selfless kindness finally strikes a chord with the legendary Awakened One. Since the kid is dead set on playing hero, Caden decides to step in. He sighs and signals for our boy to get closer for a little gift. With a simple tap, a surge of raw lightning power flows into Jawa. Blue arcs crackle through the night, sealing their unspoken pact. Feeling the surge of energy, our boy lights up like a kid on Christmas. The fear is gone, replaced by the thrill of this newfound electric power. Even with his new power, his first instinct is still to protect Caden. He tries reasoning with the beast, but that only provokes a vicious growl. The monster lunges for the kill. But in a split second, Jawa's super speed kicks in, barely dodging the lethal claws by a hair's breadth. Watching him weave through the attack with that electric trail, even Caden is stunned. The kid's combat instincts are sharper than anyone expected. Facing the ferocious beast, our boy shows off some incredible reflexes. Caden watches in shock, realizing Jawa isn't using the electric power he taught him, but his own innate super speed. Dodging alone won't win this fight, so our boy decides to go on the offensive. Even the monster is confused at thought he was just a weak human, but his speed is making it impossible to land a single hit. Spotting an opening, our boy yells out a polite apology before slamming into the beast. He wraps his body in electricity and tackles the massive creature with explosive force. As the dust settles, our boy collapses, gasping for air. Thankfully, the monster is just knocked out. Upon closer inspection, Jawa realizes this is actually the bullied stray cat he's been trying to help. They can't stay here long. The explosion is bound to attract attention. Wasting no time, they flee the scene into the night, leaving only a blur behind them. Meanwhile, on a rooftop nearby, a silver-haired young man looks at his phone in confusion. The signal for the test sample he was tracking has suddenly vanished. If the tracker won't work, he'll have to force the issue. His eyes glow red as he activates his power, trying to forcibly awaken the imprint within the sample to summon it back. Back at Jawa's house, our kind-hearted boy actually brought the enemy home to treat its wounds. Caden watches in disbelief. Their house is turning into a hospital for monsters. Caden warns him, what if it wakes up and turns into a monster again? But seeing Jawa's determination, he just sighs. However, they have no idea that the tracker is already closing in. Checking on the recovering stray, Caden realizes it's definitely not a normal cat anymore. Just as he's assessing the situation, our boy interrupts with a hesitant voice. Our boy is kneeling on the floor, sweating bullets and acting totally guilty. It turns out he's terrified that Caden will expose his super speed, still thinking he needs to hide his abilities from the world. Caden looks at the kid in disbelief. He casually mentions the term awakened, but looking at our boy's confused face, he realizes Jawa has absolutely no idea what he actually is. The realization finally hits. Our boy shouts in excitement his power has a name. When he asks if there are others like him, Caden coolly reminds him that he's looking at one right now. Caden sarcastically points out that normal humans don't turn into fat cats. He expects a laugh, but instead, our boy's eyes well up with tears, catching Caden completely off guard. The floodgates finally open. Wiping away his tears, our boy confesses the tragic truth. He's spent his whole life thinking he was a monster, terrified of being dragged off to a lab if anyone ever found out. Knowing it's not a disease, and he's not alone, brings an overwhelming sense of relief. Seeing the kid break down like this, even the usually arrogant Caden stays quiet for a moment. Once the tears dry, class is in session. Caden begins to explain the hidden world they belong to, officially introducing our boy to the concept of the Awakened Ones. While our boy is busy comparing everything to superhero movies, Caden cuts to the chase. He points out that Jaiwoo only struggled because he's been hiding his powers and lacks proper training. The serious atmosphere is immediately ruined by a loud growl from Jaiwoo's stomach. Our boy sheepishly realizes that after all the fighting, he completely forgot to eat dinner. As Jaiwoo happily munches on his toast, a thunderous growl comes from the couch. Despite Caden's dignified expression, his feline body is clearly demanding its share of the meal. Being a thoughtful host, Jaiwoo pours out a bowl of dry cat food. Looking at the kibble, the legendary Awakener faces a humiliating existential crisis: starve or eat like a pet. Hunger wins the battle against dignity. Cursing internally, Caden buries his face in the bowl and aggressively crunches away, knowing he needs the energy regardless of the taste. While they deal with dinner, the atmosphere outside shifts dramatically. A strange, ominous red energy permeates the air, startling Caden mid-meal. He instantly realizes this isn't normal. Reacting to the energy, the unconscious mutant cat suddenly goes berserk. It tears through the room in a frenzy and smashes right through the window before Jaiwoo can even react. Staring at the mess, Jaiwoo is completely confused. Caden realizes that the unstable energy outside triggered the mutant cat, waking it up prematurely and sending it into a rage. Our boy doesn't hesitate, grabbing his hat to give chase. He can't let a dangerous mutant roam free. Caden mocks him for playing hero again, but watches with a knowing look. Our boy can't ignore the bad feeling he has, but he's worried about dragging his injured mentor along. Surprisingly, Caden agrees to join him, despite acting totally annoyed about the whole thing. As they head out into the night, Caden hits him with a classic "I'm not doing this for you" line. Our boy knows better though, thanking his grumpy mentor for having his back. Locked onto their target, our boy activates his super speed, blurring through the empty streets to reach the scene before it's too late. Even while being carried, Caden doesn't stop teaching. He analyzes the enemy's speed and lectures our boy on how to use his reflexes and dynamic vision to handle the velocity. Maintaining this top speed takes a toll though. When Caden asks about his limit, our boy admits he only has about 2 seconds of juice left, giving the mentor something to think about. A plan forms in Caden's mind just as the air gets heavy. The chaotic energy confirms their suspicions this situation is definitely linked to another dangerous Awakened One. Suddenly, a massive, mutated black cat emerges from the shadows. Standing in its path is the silver-haired guy, who looks at the beast like a disappointed owner rather than a victim. Staring down the rogue experiment, his eyes turn cold. He knows for a fact that this creature shouldn't have been able to escape its special cage on its own. On the dim street, the silver-haired man looks at his opponent with amusement. The mutated cat facing him is blinded by rage, growling and hissing, completely unaware that it's just a plaything in his eyes. Our boy recognizes the cat immediately, and is about to rush in blindly to help. Luckily, Caden reacts fast, physically holding back his impulsive student and signaling him not to get himself killed just yet. Hiding behind the corner, the duo watches closely. Caden quickly deduces that the silver-haired man is an Awakened One, and his energy is exactly what lured the stray cat into this trap. Lost to its feral instincts, the cat launches a savage aerial attack. But to the silver-haired man, the move is full of openings. He doesn't even stand up, blocking the massive strike effortlessly with one hand. What follows is a one-sided beatdown. A beam of energy from the man's fingertips blasts through the cat's defenses, slamming the beast into the wall with such force that the explosion drowns out its cries. Watching the cat lying broken in a pool of blood, our boy is horrified, while Caden turns serious. The enemy is controlling immense power. With just a flick of his wrist, this telekinesis is no joke. The villain isn't done playing yet. He casually walks over and steps right onto the cat's injured leg. Surprisingly, the beast is tougher than it looks, staying conscious despite the brutal beating. This is the last straw for Jiwoo. Even knowing the danger, he can't just stand by and watch an innocent life be tortured to death, ignoring Caden's desperate warnings to stay put. Sensing the danger, Caden tries to talk some sense into our boy. He warns Jiwoo sternly, fighting an awakened one isn't a game. Just because he handled a few strays doesn't mean he's ready for a monster of this caliber. Seeing Jiwoo hesitate, Caden doubles down on the harsh truth. The kid didn't even know he was awakened until 5 minutes ago, and now he wants to risk his life? To Caden, this isn't bravery, it's a suicide mission. But the situation on the battlefield is deteriorating fast. The mutated cat, barely able to stand, refuses to give up. Facing the mad scientist, it arches its back and lets out one final, defiant hiss. But against such a power gap, resistance is futile. The silver-haired villain barely breaks a sweat, blasting the beast away with a casual wave of his hand. The cat crashes down, limp and broken, leaving the villain disappointed by his fragile experiment. Witnessing such cruelty is the last straw for our boy. He can't just watch a life get snuffed out. Jiwoo snaps back at Caden, clarifying his plan. He's not trying to win a fight. He's going to use his super speed to snatch the cat and run. Seeing his student's resolve, Caden falls silent. Then, Jiwoo smiles, thanking his mentor for worrying about him. Caught off guard, our Tsundere cat denies everything. But Jiwoo's mind is made up. Even if he gets hurt, he has to do this. No more talk. Jiwoo activates his power. While Caden grumbles about him being an idiot, he watches closely. Jiwoo becomes a blur, streaking through the shadows and rushing straight toward the heart of the danger. The villain senses something and halts. But in that split second, the boy he underestimated has already closed the distance using his super speed, positioning himself right over the injured cat. Confused, the villain assumes someone's trying to steal his sample and unleashes a devastating blast. But as the smoke clears from the crater, he's left staring at empty ground. Our boy has already grabbed the cat and vanished into thin air. The silver-haired pursuer is left completely baffled. His target vanished into thin air. Realizing he's exposed, he decides to flee the scene before he attracts unwanted attention. Meanwhile, our boy is sprinting for his life with Caden in tow. Despite the successful escape, the chubby mentor is busy scolding him for being so reckless. Instead of feeling guilty, Jiwoo just smiles. To him, having the power to save a life meant he had to act, a simple logic that leaves Caden speechless. Looking at the injured cat he saved, our boy feels a shift. The powers he used to hide in fear have finally served a purpose, and for the first time, he's actually excited about them. With a newfound sense of pride, Jiwoo practically skips the rest of the way home. His excitement is infectious, though Caden just wants him to shut up and stop shaking him. Back at the villain's hideout, the mood is grim. Losing their test subject is a major blow, but to avoid detection by the authorities, they have no choice but to lay low and relocate. Back in the safety of their home, Caden steps up. Using precise electrical currents, he stabilizes the injured cat, confirming that the big guy survived the ordeal against all odds. While our boy is relieved, Caden is deep in thought. It's not just that the cat survived, it's the realization that he's staring at a genuine awakened animal, something rare even to him. Looking at the bandaged giant, Caden's expression turns serious. This isn't just a stray, it's a failed experiment, meaning the situation is far more dangerous than our boy realizes. Seeing his student sweating bullets, Caden drops the harsh truth. By saving this cat, Jiwoo has made a powerful enemy who won't stop hunting them until he retrieves his stolen property. It gets worse. To hide his illegal experiments, the doctor will silence anyone who knows the truth. Jiwoo finally realizes that his act of kindness has put a massive target on his back. Caden decides to shoulder the burden silently, but when Jiwoo apologizes, the Tsundere cat responds with a smack. He claims he's only worried about himself, clearly trying to hide his actual concern for the kid. Just as Caden tries to give a final warning, the alarm clock shatters the tension. Snapping from mortal danger back to student mode, our boy realizes he's painfully late for school. Caden watches in disbelief as Jiwoo frantically pours food and rushes out. Even with a supervillain on their tail, apparently, high school attendance is still mandatory. Jiwoo hesitates at the door, worried the giant cat might wake up and cause chaos. But Caden steps up, assuring him that he can handle things while the kid is gone. Seeing Caden's overflowing confidence, Jiwoo's eyes sparkle with admiration. He's genuinely impressed by his master's reliability, and Caden absolutely soaks up the praise. But the moment is ruined when Jiwoo points out that his master looks like a literal ball now. Responding to the angry hiss, Our boy wisely sprints to school before he gets clawed. Our boy has to head out, but he's absolutely terrified of leaving the injured Caden alone. He keeps nagging at the door, refusing to leave until he extracts a promise that the cat will stay put. Caden decides to honor the kid's wish and stay put. But his peace is short-lived when a gang of local stray cats decides to barge in like they own the place. Not only do these strays start touching him, but they also have the audacity to eat his food. The great Caden cannot believe the sheer disrespect he's witnessing right now. Caden is about to unleash his power to scare them off, but then he realizes something. These are the same cats that led Jawa to him when he was wounded. They actually saved his life. Realizing he owes them, Caden drops the tough guy act. He pretends to hate the food and begrudgingly lets the hungry strays finish his share, playing the generous host. Watching them eat makes Caden hungry too. But he runs into a slight problem. Paws aren't exactly designed for opening tuna cans. Luckily, he's not just a cat. With a tiny flick of his power, he slices the lid right off and happily joins the feast, dignity be damned. When our boy rushes home in a panic, he's greeted by a hilarious sight, empty cans everywhere, and the great Caden passed out on the floor with his stray friends, all completely food drunk. Our boy is standing there, completely baffled by the scene. With empty cans scattered everywhere and the two cats passed out food drunk, he can't help but wonder, how on earth did they open those cans themselves? Do they have super strength paws now? The scene triggers a memory from way back. Young Jawa used to be terrified of his own speed, but his mom would always hold his hands gently, assuring him that he wasn't a monster, just a little special, and that it was never his fault. But comfort couldn't change their reality. To keep his powers a secret, they were always on the move. When little Jawa realized they were running away again, knowing he'd never have lasting friends, all his mom could do was hug him in silence. Always the lonely kid watching from the sidelines, our boy was suddenly interrupted by a soft meow. A stray cat was staring right at him. For someone so used to being isolated, this sudden interaction was equal parts fascinating and terrifying. To his surprise, the cat wasn't scared at all. It walked right up to him while he cowered. The cat just sat there calmly, and the two of them engaged in an intense staring contest, sizing each other up. Jawa tentatively reached out, and instead of running away, the cat leaned into his touch. As it started purring loudly, our boy finally felt a warmth and connection he had been missing for so long. That comforting purr suddenly morphed into a screaming teacher. Jawa SEO. Our boy snaps awake in a panic, realizing the heartwarming moment was a dream. He's actually in class, and his teacher is absolutely furious. The teacher tries to hold back, but Jawa has been sleeping through class for 2 days straight. Still half asleep, our boy confusedly asks if class is over, leaving the teacher speechless. Concerned by his exhaustion, the teacher asks if everything is okay at home. The second class is dismissed, our boy bolts out the door. He's in such a rush to get back to Caden that he's barely watching where he's going. He nearly crashes into a stranger in a suit. Jawa apologizes quickly and keeps running, but the man watches him leave with a suspicious, calculating gaze. The man, Inhyuk, senses a strange energy, but his focus is broken by a sudden phone call from a subordinate. He's furious to find out his contact is loitering at a school instead of the lab, especially with enemy trackers active in the area. After ordering them back to the lab, he hangs up and adjusts his glasses. Looking out at the students, he can't shake the feeling that something is hiding here. Meanwhile, back at Jawa's place, Caden finally wakes up from his nap, only to find himself surrounded by the stray cats Jawa brought home. As a legendary Awakener, he refuses to be gawked at. Caden decides to assert dominance, hissing and unleashing an aura that terrifies the poor strays. He winds up for a ferocious, dominant pounce, but his chubby body betrays him, turning his battle cry into a wheezing struggle. Instead of a lethal strike, he gets slapped mid-air by the yellow cat. The great Caden crashes onto the couch, utterly defeated by gravity and a stray paw. As soon as our boy walks in, he's greeted by a chorus of hungry meows. The rescued cats are settling in fast, demanding dinner like they own the place. It's chaotic, with cats climbing all over him and scratching for attention, but our boy handles the overwhelming welcome with a smile. While everyone else digs in, our boy can't take his eyes off the big injured cat on the sofa. It hasn't moved an inch, and he's starting to get really worried. Seeing his disciples so stressed, Caden finally speaks up, revealing that the cat actually woke up once earlier. Hearing that is a huge relief for our boy. With the mood lightened, Caden gets curious. He asks why Jawa has so much cat stuff, but kept them, as strays instead of bringing them inside as pets. Our boy smiles awkwardly. The truth is simple. Growing up hiding his powers was lonely. He didn't want pets to own. He desperately wanted friends to connect with. When things were hardest, these stray cats were the only ones who stayed by his side. It's a bond that means more to him than just feeding an animal. Emotional moment aside, the exhaustion hits him like a truck. After all the fighting and healing, our boy is completely drained, collapsing right onto the floor. Before drifting off, Jawa confesses how happy he is to have Caden there. He quietly asks his master to stay until he's fully recovered, a genuine plea that leaves Caden silent. After all the chaos, peace finally returns to the house. Our boy passes out on the floor surrounded by his feline friends, and for once, even Caden decides to enjoy the quiet moment. Meanwhile, the vibe is completely different at the villain's hideout. Dr. Deline is losing his mind over failed experiments, screaming in frustration and blaming everything but himself. Desperate and acting like a madman, the doctor orders Wen to find more subjects immediately, implying that if he can't find animals, he should start looking for humans. Wen tries to be the voice of reason, warning that the police are closing in, but the doctor snaps. Instead of listening, he strikes his disciple in a blind rage. Forced to apologize while being called useless, Wen takes the abuse. But as he watches his master walk away, you can see the cracks forming in his loyalty. They prepare to abandon the hideout, but the doctor isn't giving up. They pack up to leave, likely heading to a new location to continue their dark work. Back at our boy's place, Caden is the only one awake in the dead of night. He tries to channel his power, but realizes his condition is worse than he thought. He pushed himself too hard saving our boy earlier, and now his body refuses to gather energy. For all his tough talk, he really sacrificed his own recovery to protect his student. Still, Caden doesn't regret it. Analyzing the situation, he figures that since the doctor's experiments are strictly banned, the villain will likely choose to run and hide rather than seek immediate revenge. Our boy wakes up struggling to breathe, feeling like he's being crushed. He opens his eyes to find the culprit's Caden, and the others have turned him into a living mattress. Still half asleep and sweating, he sits up, completely confused by the audience. It's rare for these guys to stick so close, and he starts to wonder why they're all watching him like that. Realizing they actually spent the night guarding him because of his injuries, our boy can't help but smile warmly. He thanks them, genuinely touched by their concern. Caden immediately gets defensive, stammering and denying everything. He refuses to admit he cares, claiming the great Caden doesn't worry about anyone, which just makes him look even guiltier. To cover his embarrassment, Caden quickly changes the subject, offering to teach our boy a new technique. Hearing this, our boy's eyes light up, instantly shifting from emotional to excited. They move to the basement for privacy, and Caden drops the act to get serious. He points out that our boy has been using his powers blindly, relying only on instinct up until now. Caden manages expectations, warning him that real power doesn't grow overnight. It could take years, or even decades to see significant results depending on his talent. But developing power and using it efficiently are two different things. With a serious glint in his eye, Caden beckons our boy closer. The real lesson is about to begin. To help our boy master his abilities, Caden decides to take a hands-on approach. He explains that power flows like blood, so he's going to channel his own energy into Jaiwu to show him exactly how it moves. As the process begins, raw electricity surges through our boy's body. It's anything but pleasant. Wild lightning energy ramps up inside him, and Jaiwu has to grit his teeth just to endure the overwhelming shock. The energy builds to a breaking point before exploding outward in a blinding flash of blue lightning. As the dust settles, our boy is left gasping for air, barely managing to stay standing after that intense ordeal. Exhausted, Caden tries to manage expectations, warning that this technique usually takes months to master. But before he can even finish, our boy casually replicates the energy flow perfectly, leaving the great Caden completely dumbfounded. Now that he's got the hang of it, it's all about repetition. From dawn till dusk, our boy sits alone in the living room, tirelessly practicing his energy control until the blue aura pulses steadily with his breathing. Caden is internally screaming. Mastering this in a few hours is unheard of. But on the outside, he has to play it cool, reassuring his humble student that he's doing fine while trying desperately to hide his own disbelief. Just as he's getting into the zone, the 8 a.m. alarm snaps him back to reality. Realizing he's late for school, our boy panics, frantically trying to feed his master but ending up spilling cat food everywhere in a clumsy exit. Jaiwu rushes out the door for school in a panic, leaving Caden alone with the food bowl. Looking at the peaceful morning scene, our powerful Awakener turned cat can't help but let out a sigh. Caden realizes that our boy prioritizes feeding the cats over himself. But more importantly, he notices Jaiwoo is subconsciously gathering energy, proving his latent potential is greater than expected. Wait, it's not just Jaiwoo's talent, it's his teaching. Realizing his method is incredibly effective, Caden immediately goes on a massive ego trip, laughing maniacally at his own genius. While Caden is busy praising himself, the other rescued cats try to sneak a bite of his food. Caden immediately switches to defense mode, growling and glaring to protect his precious meal. Seeing the scars on these victims of forced awakening experiments, Caden's hostility fades. Sensing his mood, the big cats come over to groom him, and despite his complaints, he eventually accepts their affection. Meanwhile at school, our boy is fighting a losing battle against sleep. Having not slept for 2 days after the recent chaos, he's completely exhausted, daydreaming about his life at home. A loud slam on the desk jolts Jaiwoo awake as his teacher screams his name. The teacher has finally lost patience with our boy sleeping through every single class and starts lecturing him loudly. After the scolding, the teacher asks if anyone knows where Win is, noting his absence. Hearing that name, Jaiwoo instantly snaps out of his daze, realizing the boy involved with Dr. Deline has vanished. Walking home from school, our boy is in high spirits, wondering if his demanding fat cat actually ate the food he left out. But the good mood doesn't last long. He stumbles upon a group of bullies harassing Wun, dumping cat food on the ground just to humiliate him. Even though he's terrified, our boy yells out to stop them. But the moment the bullies turn their glare on him, he loses his nerve and stammers out an excuse about them being classmates. The bully doesn't care for excuses and throws a punch right at his face. He expects an easy hit, but our boy's super speed instincts kick in, and he dodges instinctively. The other guys try to jump in, but it's no use. Our boy is dodging everything like a ghost, leaving the bullies swinging at empty air and looking absolutely ridiculous. Realizing they can't land a single hit, the bullies back off. The leader recognizes our boy as the local cat guy and leaves with a threatening warning to watch his back. The bullies are gone, but Win looks shaken. Our boy tries to check on him, but Win just gives him the cold shoulder and walks away without saying a word. Our boy isn't one to give up easily, though. He catches up later, and to his surprise, the usually silent Win actually speaks up about cats, leaving our boy beaming with joy. Arriving home in high spirits, he bursts through the door to greet Caden and the other cats. Nothing heals the stress of a rough day quite like a house full of felines. Panic sets in as our boy tears through the house, frantically checking every room upstairs. He calls out for Caden, but is met with nothing but silence. After searching everywhere, reality sinks in. Our boy walks down the stairs, head hanging low, convinced that his mentor has truly left him behind. Overwhelmed by the sudden abandonment, he can't hold it back anymore and screams out in frustration, asking why Caden would leave without a single goodbye. But turns out, Caden didn't go anywhere. He was just trying to use the bathroom in peace, and now he looks ready to murder his disciple for interrupting him. Realizing his massive mistake, our boy immediately drops to his knees in a deep apology, frantically explaining that he only freaked out because he cared so much. Seeing his disciple so genuinely distressed, Caden sighs. He decides to let it slide this time, telling Jaiwoo to just forget about it and get up. With the tension gone, our guy makes the fatal mistake of asking if he interrupted Caden's bathroom break. Caden instantly snaps, ready to silence him for good. Even with a claw at his throat, Jaiwoo can't help but smile. He asks Caden to put the paw down, genuinely relieved that his mentor is still right there with him. Their moment is interrupted by a strange noise. The awakened cat they rescued earlier is finally stirring awake on the sofa. But instead of a friendly greeting, the confused creature immediately arches its back and hisses violently, clearly still traumatized and seeing threats everywhere. The rescued cat isn't sleeping peacefully. He's haunted by nightmares of the brutal battles he was forced to fight, trapped in memories of pain and chaos. Waking up in a panic, the cat starts frantically grooming to calm down. Our boy Jaiwoo completely misreads the situation and goes in for a bear hug, thinking everything is fine. Jaiwoo thinks the cat is being well behaved, but Caden has to point out the obvious. The poor thing isn't calm, it's literally frozen in shock from Jaiwoo's overwhelming enthusiasm. Deciding it's best to see a vet, Jaiwoo tries to recruit Caden for moral support. The great Caden refuses to budge until the ultimate bribe of tasty treats is offered. Tragedy strikes, the treat bag is empty. With no choice left, the trio heads out into the city night, attracting adoration from passers-by who have no idea these are powerful awakened beings. Jiwoo enjoys the stroll, completely unaware they are being watched. A mysterious man in glasses spots the group and instantly recognizes the striped cat as his missing test subject. Blissfully ignorant, Jiwoo leads them straight into the lion's den, walking right into the very animal hospital run by the people hunting them down. As Jiwoo hands over the patient, Caden's instincts kick in. The vibe in this place is off, and the fat orange cat starts scanning the room with a sharp, predator-like gaze. Jiwoo finally notices the disturbing number of caged animals in the back. He asks an innocent question, but the silence that follows suggests they might not be leaving anytime soon. Back at the villain's lair, the assistant notices something disturbing. The captured cats aren't just weak, they're showing signs of severe drug addiction from whatever experiments were done on them. Just as the assistant is processing this horrifying discovery, the door opens, and Win walks in, looking as emotionless as ever. Deline immediately questions him, but Win covers his tracks with a lie about disposing of bodies. The doctor buys it but warns him to stay sharp against the mysterious tracker. Needing to be ready, the doctor demands to know the enemy's power. Win recalls our boy's lightning-fast movements and reports the truth: he possesses super speed. Hearing it's just a speedster, Deline's murderous intent flares up. He vows to kill him next time, while Win stands silently, his eyes unreadable behind his glasses. Cutting to school, the peaceful morning takes a turn when Win walks straight up to our boy's desk. Jiwoo is totally caught off guard by the sudden approach. Win? Win looks at his harmless-looking classmate, fully aware of the power hidden beneath. But instead of hostility, he just drops a casual greeting. You came to school today. The whole class is stunned. Seeing the two resident loners actually talking creates such an awkward, rare vibe that everyone starts whispering. Ignoring the gossip, our boy stays in his own world. As long as he can giggle at cat photos on his phone, he's perfectly happy. Our boy is happily showing off his cat photos to his new friend, completely missing the intense, calculating look in Win's eyes as he scans the screen. Meanwhile, back at home, Caden suddenly feels his strength draining away. His legs give out beneath him, and he realizes this isn't just normal fatigue. As he hits the floor, he notices the huge black cat is down too. Caden instantly realizes this isn't his injury acting up, they are under attack. His sharp instincts pick up on the energy signature immediately. Someone is using powers to capture them, but when he tries to fight back, his body refuses to listen. An overwhelming wave of drowsiness hits him. He tries to rationalize that he just needs to rest and recover, but the magical sleep is too strong to fight. The great Caden tries to fight it until the very end, muttering about his dignity, but gravity wins. Within moments, all the cats in the house are knocked out cold. Unaware of the disaster unfolding at home, our boy spots a stray on the street. Being the cat fanatic he is, he immediately stops to fish out some treats. Just as he's happily watching the stray eat, a cold voice calls out his full name from behind, instantly shattering the peaceful moment. It's Win. Even though he looks calm, his immediate question about where the cat came from carries a hidden weight that our boy doesn't quite understand yet. Our boy excitedly describes the cat from last night, assuming Win was just taking it to the vet. When Win stays silent, Jiwoo quickly explains he only took the cat in to look after it for a bit. While Win is still calculating if this is his missing subject, our boy assumes it's just a lost pet case. Eager to help, Jiwoo doesn't waste a second and runs home to fetch the cat immediately. Watching Jiwoo run off so defenselessly, Win adjusts his glasses and relaxes a bit. If this kid were a tracker from the organization, he never would have handed over the target so easily. Back home, our boy grabs the gray striped stray and excitedly tells Caden he found the owner. Caden, currently in his fat cat form, just lets out a huge yawn, completely unimpressed by the whole situation. As the sun sets, Win waits patiently in the alley. It isn't long before our boy comes running back, out of breath, but eager to reunite the cat with its supposed owner. Win takes a close look at the cat in Jiwoo's arms, and his gaze instantly sharpens. Behind his glasses, a cold smirk forms, as he confirms that his prey is right in front of him. But the moment they make eye contact, the cat goes berserk, hissing violently at Win like it's seeing a monster. Dropping the nice act, Win coldly demands that Jiwoo hand the creature over. The cat is terrified, struggling desperately to get away. Sensing something is wrong, our boy holds onto the shivering animal tight and looks at Win with suspicion, asking if he's really sure this is his cat. Seeing the cat's violent reaction, Win immediately gets suspicious, grilling our boy on whether this hissing creature is actually his pet or if he's lying to him. Win drops the nice act and demands the cat for Jaiwoo's own safety, but even though our boy is terrified, he clutches the cat tighter and refuses to hand him over. Realizing talking won't work, Win's expression goes cold. He decides he has no choice and launches a sudden attack to end this conversation. The blow knocks our boy flat on his face. Win calmly explains he'll only be out for a few hours, as he uses his powers to forcibly drag the hissing cat towards him. Caden tries to fight back, but in his weakened cat form, he's helpless. Win easily grabs him by the scruff, looking down at our unconscious boy with disdain. Just as Win turns to leave, he hears movement. He looks back in genuine surprise to see our boy, who should be out cold, struggling to get back on his feet. Win is visibly shaken. That strike to the neck should have incapacitated anyone. Yet, our guy is standing there, stumbling but demanding to know why his friend is doing this. Win doesn't offer any answers. He simply tells Jaiwoo to forget everything that happened for his own good and walks away with the cat, ignoring our boy's desperate shouts. Faced with this sudden confrontation, our boy freezes. The stranger's cold stare and accusation about a stolen cat instantly cranked the tension up to 11. Not interested in excuses, the enemy strikes without warning. It's a brutal sucker punch that catches our boy completely off guard, launching him backward. Even though he's down, our boy's durability surprises the attacker. The stranger admits that anyone fast enough to escape his mentor is no ordinary foe. Realizing he's up against another awakened, our boy has no choice but to fight. Ignoring the pain, he activates his super speed, desperately trying to create some distance. Amidst the chaos, our boy spots a critical flaw. The attacker is powerful, but his obsession with capturing the cat makes his every move completely predictable. Predicting the move is one thing, dodging it is another. The power gap is just too wide, and our boy is slammed into the wall, overwhelmed by unbearable pain. Watching our boy struggle, the attacker pauses in confusion. He can't fathom how someone with such god-tier speed could have the fighting skills of a complete amateur. Even as his vision blurs, our boy's instinct is to protect the cat. He deliberately uses his own body as a shield, taking the full force of the blow just to keep the animal safe. The fight ends with our boy pinned to the ground, utterly defeated. The attacker glares down, his scorn turning into suspicion. "Who do you work for, you amateur?" Wing grabs our boy by the collar, convinced he's an enemy spy. But seeing Jaiwoo's genuine confusion and terror, Win realizes he's just dealing with a clueless novice who stumbled into something way over his head. Deciding Jaiwoo isn't a threat, Win snatches the awakened cat and drops a chilling ultimatum. Forget the cat, forget this encounter, and forget him. He walks away, leaving our boy paralyzed with fear. Left trembling on the pavement, Jaiwoo is overwhelmed by guilt rather than relief. He blames himself for bringing the stray cat home, realizing his kindness might have just doomed the poor creature to a terrible fate. The frustration boils over. Jaiwoo slams his fist into the ground, tears welling up as he curses his own powerlessness. He wanted to help, but he couldn't do a single thing to stop them. Meanwhile, back at the house, Caden finally wakes up from his day-long nap. He stretches out but immediately notices something's wrong. Our boy isn't home yet, and he's been gone way too long. With a click of his tongue, Caden decides he can't just wait around. Despite calling it a hassle, he heads for the door, ready to track down his wayward disciple himself. Back at the hideout, Dr. Deline is ecstatic. Win has delivered the awakened cat, and the mad scientist is already fantasizing about restarting his twisted experiments, noting that previous subjects couldn't survive his methods. When Deline asks how he found it, Win keeps it vague, protecting Jaiwoo's identity. But the doctor is ruthless, casually patting Win's shoulder and ordering him to take care of the owner if they ever cross paths again. Back at the hideout, Dr. Deline has no patience for delays. He heads straight back to his twisted experiments on the captive animals, leaving his disciple Win behind to handle things. Meanwhile, our boy Jaiwoo is completely gassed out. He used his super speed to track them down, hoping to rescue the cats. But he's not as stealthy as he thinks. Win is already perched above, watching him struggle. Elsewhere, Caden in all his chubby feline glory realizes his student is missing, despite claiming he couldn't care less about that idiot. He anxiously checks the vet clinic, only to find no trace of him. Logic tells him to lay low, but his gut tells him something is wrong. Grumbling the whole way, Caden decides to hit the streets and find his troublesome student himself. Back in the alley, the tension spikes. Win recognizes Jaiwoo as the awakened one from before. Caught red-handed, our boy is sweating bullets, trying to play dumb and claiming he was just passing by. Just passing by. Excuse doesn't fly. Win calls his bluff immediately, pointing out exactly how long Jaiwoo was staring inside. He studies our boy closely, sensing something familiar about his nervous energy. Then it clicks. Win remembers Jaiwoo's face from their previous encounter. Realizing this is the guy who stole his cat, his eyes glow a menacing red, and his telekinetic powers begin to manifest. Jaiwoo realizes the jig is up, but it's too late to run. Before he can even react, Win unleashes a telekinetic blast. Our boy gets launched through the air and slammed brutally into the concrete wall. One hit was all it took. Win calmly walks down the stairs toward his fallen opponent. Jaiwoo is down and bleeding, completely outmatched, while back inside, Dr. Deline pauses, sensing the disturbance. Dr. Deline spots Jaiwoo on the monitors and steps out to confront him. Seeing the boy injured and struggling on the ground, he's shocked that his pursuer is just a battered high schooler. Seizing the moment, our boy grits his teeth and uses his super speed to rush past. But the power gap is too wide. Deline casually blasts him out of the air before he can escape. Deline laughs darkly as Jaiwoo hits the ground hard. He turns to congratulate Win, mistakenly believing his student intentionally lured this tracker into their trap. Stepping firmly on Jaiwoo's back, the doctor scoffs. He can't understand how such a fragile fighter had the nerve to track them down in the first place. Since the intruder is helpless, Deline decides to take his time. He casually lights a cigarette, preparing to interrogate the boy who dared to challenge him. To make absolutely sure Jaiwoo can't run, the ruthless doctor brutally snaps his leg with a beam of energy. He then coldly mocks our boy's agonizing scream, calling it an overreaction. As Deline stomps on Jaiwoo demanding answers, Win finally snaps. He rushes to stop his master, shouting that Jaiwoo isn't a tracker or an enemy, he's just an innocent civilian. Analyzing our beaten-down boy, the doctor realizes something unexpected. Jaiwoo isn't a professional agent. He figures the kid just took the cat to save it from abuse, which momentarily confuses the villain. But the pieces click together instantly. When Win admits Jaiwoo is his classmate, the doctor's expression turns ice cold. He realizes his own student lied to his face just to protect this stranger. Consumed by the feeling of betrayal, the doctor snaps. Screaming at Win for the deception, he unleashes a telekinetic blast that sends our already injured boy flying across the room and smashing into the wall. Staring down at Jaiwoo, the doctor coldly dismantles Win's excuses. Same school, an awakened one, stealing the sample? He's not buying these convenient coincidences and knows Win is covering for the kid. Tired of talking, the doctor charges up lethal energy to finish our boy off for good. But as the explosion rings out, the doctor looks shocked not because the attack hit, but because someone intercepted it. It was Win who stepped in. Facing his master's disbelief, Win looks apologetic but stands firmly between the villain and Jaiwoo, choosing to defy his mentor to prevent a murder. This ultimate betrayal sends the doctor into a frenzy, his scream shaking the entire block. Nearby, even Caden in his chubby cat form senses the massive energy spike and realizes something is going down. Back at the scene, Win tries to explain his reasoning, but the doctor is way past listening. To him, using powers against a master isn't just disobedience, it's a direct challenge to his authority. The doctor snaps completely, listing everything he did to raise and save Win before unleashing a devastating blast. If his student stands in the way, he'll remove him first. Win takes the full force of the attack, putting his life on the line for his friend. Dr. Deline has completely lost it. Ignoring his subordinate's desperate apology, he unleashes a devastating blast, proving that he has absolutely no mercy for failure. Having dealt with the small fry, Deline wipes the blood from his face and turns to his disciple, Win, claiming he wants to test his strength. He launches a lethal assault that screams nothing but murder. Win stands no chance against this level of power and hits the ground hard. Before he can even explain that he never betrayed anyone, Deline is already stomping on him, crushing whatever bond was left between master and student. Just then, Caden in his glorious fat cat form arrives on the scene. Seeing a boy being trampled, he panics for a split second thinking it's our boy, only to realize the victim is actually Win. If that's not Jaiwoo, then where is our boy? Caden scans the area and spots Jaiwoo lying unconscious in a pool of blood. Looking at his battered apprentice, the cat scolds him, but you can feel the genuine worry and rising anger beneath the harsh words. Seeing our boy battered and bleeding just to find him, the usual laziness in Caden's eyes vanishes, replaced by a quiet, simmering fury. No one touches his student. Win is down for the count too, pinned under the mad doctor's foot. Even in this state, He tries to plead for our boy's life, insisting he's just an innocent bystander. But the villain isn't buying it. Innocent or not, no witnesses allowed. Just as he prepares the finishing blow, he notices our boy staring intensely at something right behind him. The doctor turns around, only to see a sprinting orange tabby. He actually chuckles at how fat the cat is, already plotting to add this weird creature to his twisted collection. Our boy panics, trying to shoo Caden away to save him. But Caden just gently places a spark-filled paw on his student's head. Rest now. The great Caden has this. Before the words sink in, raw lightning erupts. The chubby cat is engulfed in blinding blue-white energy, unleashing a massive shockwave that sweeps across the entire street. It's the first time our boy has seen his mentor's true power, and he's stunned. Meanwhile, the arrogant doctor is forced to frantically defend against the raging lightning storm, completely overwhelmed. Just before the power levels the neighborhood, a sharp snap echoes. Someone casts space isolation, sealing the area instantly. The doctor freezes. He realizes the real pros have arrived to crash his party. Dr. Deline freezes, as a terrifyingly familiar energy fills the room. He tries to deny reality, but the overwhelming pressure leaves no room for doubt. When the man finally steps out of the shadows, everyone is stunned. The doctor can barely process that the legendary monster is actually standing right in front of him. Realizing he's facing Caden, the doctor panics. Knowing he has zero chance, he stammers out an excuse while launching a desperate, suicidal sneak attack. But our boy Caden has no patience for excuses. Looking at the scum who hurt his apprentice, he simply tells him to shut up and unleashes a lethal bolt of lightning. The lightning strike is absolute. With a deafening boom, the doctor is blasted into the ground, turning the entire battlefield into a scorching crater. As the smoke clears, Caden looks down at his charred opponent. The doctor tries to struggle, but against a force of nature like this, resistance is pathetic. While the bystanders are trembling at his ruthless reputation, Caden suddenly breaks the tension. He turns to the kids, casually asking why they're staring at him like that. The battle is decided. Dr. Deline is on his knees, burnt to a crisp and utterly defeated. Caden looks down at him, his eyes cold, clearly ready to finish what he started. Caden mocks the defeated scientist, lightning crackling ominously in his hand. He has zero sympathy for anyone who dares to hurt his apprentice, no matter how pathetic they look now. Seeing death approach, Wynn suddenly rushes in to shield his master. Despite his madness, Deline tries desperately to push his student away, not wanting the boy to die with him. But this display of loyalty doesn't move Caden one bit. He charges up a massive sphere of lightning, deciding that if they want to stay together, they can die together. Just in the nick of time, our boy Jaiwoo, battered and bloody, manages to prop himself up and shouts for them to stop. His sudden intervention actually makes Caden pause mid-attack. Caden tries to lecture Jaiwoo, explaining that the awakened world has no room for mercy. But Jaiwoo is stubborn. He admits he's naive, but he refuses to let his master become a killer just for his sake. Facing Caden's questioning, Jaiwoo stands his ground. He explains that Wynn is actually a friend who tried to help him earlier, and he can't just watch a friend die. Hearing this, Caden sighs deeply, realizing he can't win against his apprentice's soft heart. He powers down and tells the two enemies to get lost before he changes his mind. Wynn whispers a quiet thank you as they limp away into the shadows. The immediate danger is over, but one has to wonder if our boy's kindness will eventually come back to bite him. With the battle over, priorities shift to recovery. Wynn puts aside their differences to heal our injured mentor, Caden. Despite his cold demeanor, the kid clearly has a sense of responsibility. After tending to Caden, Wynn checks on our boy. Although he grumbles about the broken leg, he still uses his powers to speed up the healing. Caden watches from the side, sighing at how much trouble his apprentice attracts. With the danger past, our boy finally gets a good look at Caden's human form. He's totally starstruck, struggling to believe this cool guy is the same fat cat. Caden, basking in the praise, acts all cool and flips his hair. However, the local residents aren't impressed. The cats, seeing a stranger in their house, immediately hiss and growl, completely failing to recognize their own leader in human form. Suddenly, Caden's expression shifts. He's reached the limit of maintaining his human form. With a crackle of unstable energy and a loud burst, his time as a handsome human is up. After a blinding flash, the imposing Awakener is gone, replaced by the familiar screaming fat cat. The other cats immediately swarm him, grooming and comforting him as if to say, "Boss, you're back." Meanwhile, Wynn finds the injured Dr. Deline amidst the rubble. Seeing his mentor in such a state, the innocent Win is consumed with guilt, apologizing profusely and blaming himself for everything. Win doesn't run. Instead, he tries to help the professor move. But he's unaware that the atmosphere has shifted, and a heavy, ominous tension hangs in the air. Suddenly, a massive blast hits Win out of nowhere, sending him flying. The attacker is none other than the mentor he was trying so hard to protect Deline. The doctor looks down coldly at his fallen student. To him, Win's kindness is proof of betrayal, which is exactly why he never taught him anything of value. In that moment, Win's world shatters. Dr. Deline is still screaming at Win, demanding answers for the betrayal, but he doesn't get to finish his rant. A cold voice cuts him off from behind as a squad of masked figures blocks the exit. It's the Awakeners Union. As they announce his arrest for illegal experimentation, Deline completely loses it. Realizing his life's work is ruined, he snaps and screams hysterically at the enforcers. Consumed by rage, Deline tries to take someone down with him. He lunges at Win, screaming that he'll kill the traitor himself, only to be violently pinned to the ground. Win watches his mentor get taken down with a look of pure pain. Even though he turned good, he's still an accomplice. When the Union orders him to come in, he quietly accepts his fate. Meanwhile, back at the Shinhwa headquarters, the higher-ups are analyzing the battle site. Even though the traces were wiped, the destruction on the ground points to one person, Caden. The Shinhwa leaders, including Ji-young and In-hyuk, quickly agree on a cover-up. They decide to hide Caden's involvement from the Union, knowing that revealing his location would cause global chaos. Back at Jaiwoo's house, Caden, currently a fat cat, is deep in thought. The crisis is over, but he's realizing something strange happened with his powers during the fight. At first, he's just gloating about how awesome he is, even as a cat. But then, reality hits him like a truck. He used so much power that he has no idea how to turn back into a human. While Caden is having an existential crisis about being stuck as a cat, our boy Jaiwoo decides it's the perfect time to bring out the cat toys. The disrespect is real. Even the legendary Caden isn't immune to basic instincts. One moment, he's talking big about his greatness, and the next, he's doing backflips for a feather toy, completely losing the battle against his inner cat. Reality hits hard when the adrenaline fades. Realizing he just acted like a common house cat in front of everyone, our great Awakener is absolutely mortified, curling up in a ball of shame. Jokes aside, our boy Jaiwoo notices the rescued cat is still shivering from trauma. Despite his own injured leg, he gently comforts the poor thing, prioritizing its well-being over his own pain. But the peace is short-lived. Jaiwoo starts panicking, realizing he might have left traces of his power at the lab yesterday. Worried about exposing everything, he tries to get up to go check the scene. Caden immediately shuts that down. With his signature arrogance, he assures Jaiwoo that as long as he's around, there's nothing to fear. Jaiwoo, ever the supportive student, hypes him up, stroking that massive ego perfectly. Seizing the moment, Jaiwoo gets serious. He asks Caden how to become powerful, genuinely wanting the strength to protect others. The sudden request catches the cat completely off guard. Before Caden can answer, a phone call breaks the tension. It's In-hyuk from Shinhwa. He's not just calling for a chat, he knows exactly who Jaiwoo is, and wants to talk business. Things escalate quickly when In-hyuk reveals he's not calling from an office. Jaiwoo looks out the window in shock. The Shinhwa agent is already standing right outside his front door. In-hyuk finishes a call outside, reassuring the person on the other end. But once he steps inside, the vibe is intense. He finds himself surrounded by cats, and the way that fat orange tabby is staring at him makes even a seasoned agent feel nervous. Seeing our boy sweating buckets, In-hyuk awkwardly clears his throat. He admits he isn't trying to be intimidating. He was just genuinely taken aback by the intense judgment coming from the army of cats staring him down. After clearing the air, In-hyuk apologizes for running a background check without permission. To show he comes in peace, he demonstrates his own awakened ability, summoning a small, controlled whirlwind in the palm of his hand. While our boy is just impressed by the magic trick, Caden is connecting the dots. Wind ability? That immediately reminds him of one of the top rankers, who supposedly lives in this district, Ji-young. In-hyuk explains how versatile wind can be, and our innocent boy, completely dazzled, immediately spills his own secret. Wow! I can just move really fast. In-hyuk goes silent, stunned by the kid's complete lack of caution. Caden can't help but laugh internally at his student's naivety. In-hyuk, on the other hand, realizes this kid is a total rookie. No experienced Awakened would just hand over intel on their abilities to a stranger like that. Seeing how clueless Jaiwoo is, Inhyuk switches into mentor mode. He explains that for someone with super speed, secrecy is everything. If you reveal your hand too early, you lose the element of surprise, which is your biggest weapon. The advice hits home as Jawa remembers how easily he was countered by Dr. Deline. Realizing his mistake, he sincerely thanks Inhyuk for the tip. His honest gratitude seems to charm the agent, proving he's just a good kid at heart. Jawa can't help but ask why they're helping him. The answer is strictly professional. Shinhwa wants stability in their district and doesn't want a new awakened straying down the wrong path. With an agreement reached, Shinhwa promises basic support. But the moment the agent turns his back, Caden drops the cute act and shoots a terrifying death glare at him as a parting gift. Once they're alone, Caden gets serious. He breaks down their luck. Since this is Shinhwa territory, Jawu is safe. If the Union controlled this district, our boy would be in grave danger. The fun is over. Caden declares that Jawu has officially entered the awakened world and needs to train immediately. Though, seeing Jawu's enthusiastic salute, Caden wonders if the kid truly understands the gravity of the situation. Back at headquarters, Inhyuk reports to the chairwoman Ji Young-yu. He decides to keep Jawu under the radar, vouching for him simply because he believes the kid has a genuinely good heart. Life goes on. Leaving Caden to scold the other cats for overeating, our boy heads back to school on crutches, trying to blend his new dangerous reality with his ordinary student life. Our boy is walking through campus on crutches, trying to mind his own business. Unfortunately, trouble finds him. The bullies from before spot him immediately, and seeing his injured leg, they realize he's an easy target. As soon as he steps into the classroom, the vibe shifts. The gang is waiting for him by the door. Seeing the shock on our boy's face, the leader just smirks, clearly enjoying the ambush. Giving him no space to retreat, the bully leans in close, whispering threats into his ear and demanding to know where his friend is. It's clear they are looking for payback. After yelling at the rest of the class to back off, the bully pulls a dirty move and kicks our boy right in his broken leg. It's a cruel strike specifically aimed at his injury. The impact sends him crashing into the desks. Lying on the floor in agony, our boy realizes the hard truth. With his leg like this, he can't dodge or fight back like he usually would. Seeing him in pain only makes the bullies happier. They stand there mocking him while the rest of the class looks on in terror, too scared to intervene in the chaos. Not satisfied yet, the leader grabs him by the collar and winds up for a punch. But then, instinct takes over. Even with a broken leg, our boy manages to dodge the hit. The miss is so unexpected that the bully is left standing there, looking totally foolish. The bullies treat Wun like a punching bag, relentlessly kicking his injured leg. They mock his pain, accusing him of dodging and playing games instead of fighting back. It turns out they're hunting for our boy, taking their boredom out on Wun. As they stomp on him and joke about ruling the school, they realize the geek with glasses they're looking for isn't even there. Seeing his friend brutalized for protecting him, Jawa finally steps out from the shadows. The bullies just laugh, thinking the geek has come to offer himself up for a beating, and mockingly tell him to stay down. But they couldn't be more wrong. Jawa's mind is focused on one thing. Wun is the only person who ever defended him, and he refuses to let his friend suffer any longer. He doesn't even need his full powers. The training pays off. Jawa moves like a blur, landing a devastating punch that knocks the bully out cold before anyone can even process what happened. The teacher bursts in just as the dust settles. Seeing the school bullies laid out on the floor and looking at the quiet Jawa standing over them, his brain completely short-circuits. Did the quiet kid actually do this? Confused but concerned, the teacher orders Jawa to the nurse. However, our boy waves off help, insisting on walking alone because he senses a very familiar gaze burning from the window. He looks up to find Caden the fat cat clapping his paws like a human. Instead of a scolding, he gets the ultimate validation his mentor is actually proud of how he handled himself. With his master's approval secured, our boy quickly makes an excuse to leave early. He knows that after a fight like that, his tutoring sessions with Caden are about to get a lot more interesting. After the recent chaos, the school is busy cleaning up. While passed out students are taken to the nurse, our boy insists on walking away on his own. Hobbling down the street with crutches, our boy tries to explain his reckless actions to Caden. But under his master's annoyed gaze, he quickly apologizes. Seeing his disciple down, Caden gets surprisingly serious. He tells our boy to stop isolating himself out of fear, assuring him that his awakened powers are a gift to be proud of. Stunned by his master's heartfelt words, all of our boy's worries vanish. He breaks into a bright smile and immediately decides to treat his master to extra cat snacks. Meanwhile, the Shinhwa elite Jisuk is checking his phone on the street. He recalls a recent meeting where Inhyuk asked him to secretly watch over our boy at school. The arrogant Jisuk was initially dismissive of the request. However, Inhyuk patiently explained that since our boy had just awakened, his past life hiding his powers must have been incredibly tough. Snapping back to reality, Jisuk is interrupted by several unfriendly guys approaching him. Facing these troublemakers, he simply smirks, clearly ready to make them regret picking a fight. Meanwhile, in a dark corner of the city, a tense interrogation is unfolding. While the thugs tremble in fear, the silver-haired man in the suit casually checks his phone, completely unbothered. Turns out, these are the guys who tried to mess with our boy earlier. The silver-haired man seems particularly interested in the kid, who feeds cats, interrogating the thugs with a terrifying calmness. Hearing the thugs admit they provoked Jiwoo, the silver-haired man's gaze sharpens. He realizes the kid isn't normal. If he were, he'd be dead. The fact that he survived proves he's an awakened one. Back at our boy's house, the vibe changes completely. Caden is aggressively devouring a cat treat. Between bites, he drops a truth bomb on Jiwoo. You have a serious problem. Seeing Jiwoo's confusion, Caden gets serious. Kindness won't save him from ruthless enemies. Jiwoo lowers his head, recalling his helplessness during the fight with Dr. Deline. Warning Jiwoo that he won't be so lucky next time, Caden flicks the wrapper away. Assuming a grandmaster pose, despite being a cat, he declares, "From now on, I will teach you how to fight." Training begins immediately. Jiwoo strikes the heavy bag with electrified fists. Caden coaches from the couch, emphasizing that for a speedster, mastering physical combat is the key to true power. Even though our boy is completely winded, the training doesn't stop. Caden instructs him to channel his energy right at the moment of impact to maximize the force. Following the instruction, Jiwoo lands a hit that completely obliterates the punching bag. He stares at his own hand in disbelief, finally grasping how to properly use his awakened powers. Jiwoo is absolutely buzzing with excitement over his new technique. Caden, of course, just casually grooms himself, acting like creating a monster is just another Tuesday for him. All that training takes a toll, and our boy can barely keep his eyes open in class. The teacher, completely misunderstanding the situation, thinks the poor kid is traumatized from recent events. While his student rests, Caden returns to the scene of the battle. As expected, the place has been scrubbed clean, with absolutely no trace of the lab left behind. The cleanup is too professional. Caden starts to wonder if this was the work of the Shinhwa Association, or if another group has decided to get involved. Just as Caden lurks in the shadows, two mysterious figures appear on the stairs above. It seems he's not the only one investigating what went down here. Cornered by three intruders, Caden is ready to unleash his power. But to avoid blowing his cover, the legendary Awakener pretends to be a harmless kitty, leaving the men completely baffled. Seeing them drop their guard, the chubby feline sighs in relief. But his pride takes a massive hit when they instantly start mocking him for being incredibly fat. Meanwhile, our boy is marveling at how quickly his leg healed from the training. But his peaceful morning is cut short when the silver-haired bully and his gang block his path. Expecting a brutal beatdown, our boy is caught off guard. Instead of jumping him, the arrogant leader orders his smirking lackeys to stay behind and leads Jiwoo away. Arriving at a deserted construction site, the tension spikes. Our boy tries to reason with him, pointing out that he only fought back to protect his friend from an unprovoked attack. Although the bully understands the situation, his massive ego insists on a fight to maintain his reputation. Realizing words are useless, our boy clenches his fists, accepting the inevitable clash. Arrogant as ever, the opponent confidently invites our boy to make the first move. Not wasting the opportunity, Jiwoo activates his super speed, blasting forward to catch him completely off guard. Our boy manages to dodge the first swing, catching his opponent off guard. But the surprise doesn't last long. Jisuk follows up instantly, with a crushing blow that connects hard. Jisuk easily catches our boy's attempt to counter, a smug look on his face. With a chilling remark, he slams Jiwoo into the ground, showing that the gap in their strength is wider than expected. Seeing Jiwoo is struggling to get up, Jisuk doesn't offer a hand but a demand. He's annoyed, insisting that our boy stop holding back and actually use his awakened powers to fight. Our boy leaps back to create some distance and catches breath. Suddenly, Jisuk drops Inhyuk's name, pausing the action as Jiwoo recalls the mentor figure who's been helping him navigate this new world. Turns out, this guy is an awakened one just like Inhyuk. But he's not here to make friends. He explains that fighting is necessary to establish ranks for newcomers, a harsh welcome to the hidden world. Jisuk powers up, surrounding himself with swirling wind. He claims he'll go easy, but the pressure in the air suggests otherwise. Jawu immediately recognizes the ability its wind control, just like Inhyuk's. A sharp blast of wind tears through the air, but our boy dodges it with incredible reflex. This impressive display of speed finally wipes the smirk off Jisuk's face, replacing it with genuine curiosity. Realizing he can't just run forever, our boy decides to turn the tables. Remembering Kaiden's training, he stops hesitating and begins to channel all his momentum into a single, focused punch. Facing Jisuk's relentless assault, our boy barely has time to react. A devastating punch lands squarely on his stomach, sending him flying backward from the sheer impact. The opponent has no intention of stopping. Closing the distance in a blur, he delivers another heavy kick to our helpless guy, forcing him back in agony. Just as our boy tries to dodge, his injured leg gives out. Right before the fatal fist crushes his face, the attacker suddenly stops dead in his tracks. Realizing our boy is fighting with a bad leg, Jisuk frustratedly turns away. Too proud to crush an injured opponent, he leaves with a promise for a fair rematch. Left alone amidst the rubble, our boy stares at the retreating figure and lowers his head. This overwhelming defeat makes him painfully aware of his current weakness.